Hey guys, welcome to the show. We got a barn burner for you today. As usual, if you'd like to support this channel, there are PayPal and Patreon links in the info box below. Let's check the panel, see if we got any new guys over there. How's it going?
Not a new guy. An old woman.
An old woman? Like a sea hag?
An oldie.
A sea hag?
Old.
Hey, let's give a check out there. Hey, what's up, Nathan? I see you out there. Are they just a quick back office business, and I know you love that. How's the Discord guys sounding? Go ahead, Discord, sound off a little bit.
1, 2, 3, 4. That like that, like
a little bit more.
I don't know what I've been told. They're at the mark, or that sort of sound off, or that do?
Or a band or something. I don't know.
All right, can I get a thumbs up out there? How's those Discord guys sounding? Sounds ace. Thanks a lot, Nathan. Appreciate that, man. All right, so we can move on.
Someone said septic.
Oh, we're gonna get the septic. We're gonna get the skank beard here in a few minutes, but we'll just wait on. We'll wait on a few people to jump in. I don't want to start off. We only got a few listeners in here, so everyone's fashionably late as usual. So let's just shoot it for a little bit before we get to business.
What do you mean by that?
What do I mean by what do I mean? What do you mean by what do I mean? Did I get that right?
So you're going to talk and be just listening, or
No. Just shoot the breeze for a few minutes. Let everyone, like I said, most people are fashionably late. They just like to roll on in, right? From midget golf and whatever else they're into, and so we'll just wait. We want to hold off on the septic skank for right now.
Okay. So how's the weather?
I knew you were going to say that. It's horrible.
It's horrible.
It's been raining, storms last night. No nasty ones, though. A little thunder and stuff, but that's fine. But it's been raining ever since last night. Spitting a little bit. Just nasty cold.
Yeah, it's cold for the time of year, isn't it?
A little bit. This week's going to be a little bit under average, if everyone wanted to know out there. In Missouri land, home of the boat ride. So a little chilly if you're traveling this way.
Well, it is chilly here as well, I think, compared to other months of April in other years. And there was a big storm today. Big storm. Well, not compared to what you got there in America, I think. But yeah, it was windy.
Wonderful.
And
I've not got scientific data with the weather. But what I will say, yesterday was a bank holiday, and if I can take historical recollection with some validity, and I would say the weather is exceptionally commensurate with every other year I've had, because yesterday, like I said, was a bank holiday, and it pissed it down. Yeah, non-stop all day, which is every bank holiday I remember from my childhood. The UK, if it's a bank holiday, it rains. So I'm not seeing a big change. The only thing we're seeing now is those little variances, if I'm being more serious, that we see, which is April showers in May. And you always see that little twisting, but that's all we've got here, other than, say, crap bank holiday weather. I got my barbecue in, though, John, to be fair, on Sunday. I saw it. I thought I'm going to have to cook meat outdoors. I'm not going to have long because it's Monday tomorrow. And it is a day off, so it's bound to rain. So, yeah. Sunday was my barbecue day.
I know I am going to love just hearing this. What did you have for the barbecue?
Well, it was simple, actually, because it was a little, like I said, it was a little ad hoc, like impromptu. So, we had. Oh, it was quite nice, actually, because we had souvlaki pork, so Greek kind of spiced pork fillet things, some nice Cajun chicken, What else did I cook? I cooked the boys because they're just pigs. They eat additional. They had a burger each as well with cheese and stuff. Just nice Angus steak in that, and then we had some nice like minute steaks fried. Just seasoned minute steaks with that. Corn on the cob. That was my side of things, and the wife brought some coleslaw.
Sweet. That's just the basics. I love that. I really do. I like keeping it simple with barbecues.
Coleslaw?
Coleslaw.
It's coleslaw.
It's not coleslaw. It's coleslaw.
Yeah, it's a Dutch word. You guys fuck it up.
Hey!
We might pronounce it wrong, but we make it right.
The first F-bomb, and it comes from Betty. Betty!
That shocked me.
Even now.
Well, I'm sorry. If it comes to turning Dutch words into sort of coleslaw, it's like, blech.
What does dry good mean? Nathan?
Again?
He's telling me the sound is dry good. Oh, very good? You meant very dry good? Whatever. Go on. Go on. With the coleslaw, go ahead. There's some more people.
Oh, you stopped me mid-track. It's good.
It's coleslaw? What?
Yeah, slaw. Lettuce, slaw.
Cold treacle. Yeah, good one, Anthony. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that one too. That's a good movie. Days of Thunder, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, barbecue already.
So are you claiming that coleslaw's a Dutch thing then, Betty?
I think so too, yes. I think that you guys stole it from us. Because cole means cabbage, and lettuce means slaw, and slaw, you don't know, right? So slaw is, I think, slaw. You can't pronounce that.
Oh, wait a second. We're losing viewers. Kick it on over to steaks
to the weather.
or something.
Cakes? Or what did your daughter say? I wish that the world was made of cupcakes.
Oh yeah, when she was young, she had a question. She said, "I want to ask God a question." And I said, "What's that?" She goes, "Why didn't He make everything from cupcakes?" I died.
Well, isn't it sort of the same like King Midas or Midas, who wanted everything to be from gold?
Where everything he touched turned to gold, but that was a curse.
Of course it is a curse, because everything that you touch, even if you touch food, it will turn to gold, right? You can't eat gold.
Exactly.
Yeah. Those ancient stories are so much full with morals, isn't it?
Yes.
Yep. Beautiful.
I can remember you brought up that one point that she said, and I can hear her in the background. She's walking down the hallway, clamoring about here today. She's usually not around, but she was really young. We were traveling through from California to Texas. We were in New Mexico, and there were big reservations that we drove by, and huge teepees. And she looked over and she says, "What's that?" "That's a teepee." And she goes, "Does people live in there?" And I said, "Yeah, Indians." And then she said, "Do they bite?"
What? Do they what?
Do they bite? It was perfect.
Right? Yeah. Somebody says, F coleslaw, get the onion rings out.
Steve heard me telling the story. So she commented. She was snickering in the background.
Nice.
All right.
You basically have to sort of write down what your kids say, because you forget a lot.
You do. That's a very important point. You're exactly right. Yeah. I just
I'm
try to
having those
remember
moments, John. And I kind of remember those It's gorgeous, cutesy things now. And it's getting harder and harder as I turn around and see the big, smelly, hairy pits that fill my house now. And remembering those cute moments. I love them both.
It's kind of,
yeah,
that was kind of raw there, but that's all right. All right.
I'll be playing it back to them that bit.
All right. Looks like we got 2:11. We got 11. Maybe just a couple more minutes, guys. Just be patient.
Let me qualify that. The point I'm meaning is they soon change, and those cute moments there. I turn around now, like I say, and my youngest, who's 14, he weighs more than me, which is a slight indictment of lockdown. But that aside, yeah, they're not those moments. That's very fleeting, aren't they?
Yes.
Cute moments. And
yes, I was just going through some pictures yesterday. We were looking at them and how fast it goes from when they were really young and now, graduated high school and college, got a job, got their own vehicle. Right. It just goes so fast it catches you off guard. Right. So life is a funny thing. I'll tell you that much. But I'm not going to get into a philosophical discussion here today. We are going to talk about the Black Swan, but before we get to that, we have some BallTARD fraud to talk about. It appears that we have a Soundly GeoStreamer Redux situation here with a debate that happened, I think it was Friday or Saturday night. Helio Skeptic, shout out to Helio. I got a message on Discord and he sent the debate. It was on McToon's channel, that numpty dipshit, between a guy I never seen before. It looks like, I think his name is Septic Dank or something like that. I don't know who he's, Septic Skank. We'll just call him Skank. And Witsit gets it. And he sent it to me. He goes, hey, there might be some numpty clips in here. So I reviewed it, and I did hear some voices in the background during the debate, but it was such a shit show that was hard to discern between those. But one of our own also listened to this debate, and he's got a sharp ear for skank whisperers, and he pulled them out. So we have a clear case of fraud again with the BallTARDS. You guys just can't help yourself. So we got a gentleman, Skankbeard, getting fed information on a debate against Witsit. So I don't know how you're going to recover from this. We are going to go ahead and play it. So let's have some mic discipline on Discord. You guys are going to have to listen to this over the live stream. All right, so I'll take the appropriate amount of time after I play this and wait for you guys to come back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play this through. It's only 47 seconds. I'm going to play it through once. Then I'm going to go back, and then we're going to isolate what's going on here. You're going to hear it readily. It's no problem. And I'd like to shout out the recognizer of the little games, reindeer games being played here. And obviously, it was none other than our own sleeping warrior, Anthony Riley, who caught this. So shout out to Anthony. Thank you for posting it this morning. Get to it. Like I said, let me play this. I'll play through it once. Then we'll come back. I'll play through it again. It's real short. Pay attention. Here we go.
Okay, so do you know what plane survey data is?
Are you talking about like surveyors?
It's 250 miles.
Okay, go on with what.
Yeah.
That's the first one.
We'll keep it simple for you. What's the square root of 1?
1.
Okay, so what's 1 times 1.225?
1.225.
Okay, so if we're 1 foot off the surface of the Earth, where should we see the geometric horizon?
Let's see.
1.225 miles.
You're talking
Yeah, we're talking fraud. Did you guys hear that? We're going to go back through it again, and I'm going to stop at the critical points.
Okay, so do you know what plane survey data is?
Are you talking about like surveyors?
It's 250 miles.
You hear that? In the background, you hear up to 250 miles. Hold on a second, please. Thank you. Up to 250 miles you heard in the background, right? I don't know, guys. You two bozos right here. That's not that's the least of your issues. The second one is more deadly.
Okay, go on with what.
Yeah. We'll keep it simple for you. What's the square root of 1?
1.
Okay, so what's 1 times 1.225?
1.225.
Okay, so if we're 1 foot off the surface of the Earth, where should we see the geometric horizon?
Let's see.
1.225 miles.
1.225 miles away. That's what you hear in the background. This guy, if you ask him what 3 plus 2 was, he'd have to wait for the guy in the background to tell him. Hey, Skankbeard, you just been busted. You're a fraud. You're finished. And you, McToon, you numpty dipshit of epic proportions, with a science acumen hovering right around preschool and the basic reasoning skills of a turnip squash, you're done too. I don't know how you're going to get out of this. You could say, oh, I didn't know what was happening. You're finished. Both of you boneheads, right? Fraud. Fraud. You're busted again. Skank whispering. We'll wait a couple seconds for the Discord to catch up. Oh, I'll tell you what. You friggin'... Oh, man.
I've caught up, John. I did it earlier, thanks to Tony. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the two. It's the two clues. The guy in the top right corner, even when given the hint, I don't think he comprehended the hint, is what I would suggest. The hint wasn't explanatory enough for him to understand. The second one is he's basically it's a straight feed of the answer, which is bad enough in itself, but see the behavior of the moderator, I think, is...
This guy.
Is odd. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're busted. Both of you bozos are busted again. And I'll tell you what, BallTARDS, you better be calling these guys out. People are watching. They were watching last time with Sean Huffraud. He's already been busted out. He's already a fraud, but they weren't saying too much. I don't know if they got away with it. Everyone pretty much knew what was going on. This is abominations of the earth stuff here, brother. Mr. Beard Skank. What an embarrassment. You couldn't even tell Austin the answer over that simple question after he walked you through it? You had to get somebody else telling you what it was, where the geometric horizon was at 1 foot? That's bad enough, right? But you had to have somebody in the background telling you where you're looking to. And tell me you weren't involved with this. You're done. You're guilty by association. You're finished, right? I better be hearing. I'm going to stay on this. I'm going to drop anchor on this one, right? Because this is patently obvious. You're finished. BallTARDS better be calling you out. We know they won't, though, right? You numpty dipshits are all on the line together. Unbelievable. Comments, questions?
Yeah, well, I think that Anthony said in the chat that he said, John, the voice was amplified 400%. It wasn't that loud originally, so it was very surreptitiously that they did this.
Yep, I heard it during the debate, though. Not specifically that, and I know Anthony turned it up. Thanks a lot, Anthony. But I did hear voices in the background, but it was such a shit show that you couldn't really tell. So thanks, Anthony. Appreciate that. You're busted, guys. That's it. You're done. Shout out to Unitox Vemu. 1 second. Shout out. Super chat. People inside TV bite more than dogs. Yeah.
That was according to your thing with your daughter, right?
Yeah. I got it real quick. Yep. There you go, people. Any comments, concerns, questions from the panel? Who we got in here?
Well, concerns.
I've just got one to add, John. And the reason I want to add it is just to get a comment from Riley, because it's just from some chat this afternoon. But that thing that we all heard, either live or as exemplified by Tony, apparently is picked up in the debate. And I think McDoon, and this is where I'm happy to stand corrected, but it's only bits of analysis I've picked up. I'm told that he actually turns around and tries to blame Whitsitt for that. He was getting fed. So I don't know. I said, I'm sure I heard it from Tony was saying, because he's listened to the full thing. You comment on that. I'd be interested if it was then by the moderator put at Whitsitt's door.
Yeah, I didn't listen to the whole thing. So what you're saying here is that they were indicting Whitsitt during the debate of being fed by somebody? Really? Unbelievable. The friggin' hubris, the gall of you knuckle dragon, mouth-breathing window lickers. The gall. You're busted.
Sort of a rerun with that Swan audio guy thing, huh?
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah, the skank whisperer. Go ahead, Betty.
Yeah, but it's the same tactic all over. Every time the same thing. They're not original, these people.
It's like Hollywood, Betty, innit? Reruns. Remakes.
Yes. Well, Satan is also not original, right? So these people aren't too.
Just be careful out there, people. If you're debating these BallTARDS, right? Be very careful what you're doing out there, right? With these idiots right here. Because there's a rooster in the hen house. You know what? I'm disgusted even looking at your skank face. You hear me, skank? You friggin' bozo, you. And you. Oh, I'll tell you. This contempt isn't even in the galactic vicinity of this little reindeer game. And by the way, Whitsitt trounced these knuckleheads. Just trounced them. I'd like to know who was the skank whisperer, though. I'd like to know that. Who's your skank whisperers? Friggin' bozos.
Yeah, the thing is, John, the skank whisperer whispered to him what 1 times 1.25 was, didn't he?
Yeah, I know. Unbelievable, man. I don't know what, BallTARDS. What you gonna do with this? Probably just blow it off. Probably go with your cropped image now. You people are all frauds. You're frauds. You're liars. Right? You're just playing a game out here. Of course, you're getting busted daily. Make sure you're checking the numpty clips, folks. Right? Because it's expose time. And don't just take these numpty clips. I'm telling you, they're a gold mine, right? They're not just a thumb in the nose or a thumb in the eye of these knuckle dragon retards, right? Let me just tell you, they show you what their arguments are and then how to systematically destroy every single one of them. Now, do I add some pieces of flair? Maybe take some liberties, what artistic license? Sure. But that doesn't hide the fact that we're dealing with numpty Dunning-Kruger dipshits of epic proportions. Make sure you catch them every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 2 p.m. U.S. Central. There's a lot in the hopper ready to go. And you haven't heard anything yet.
You got two super chats. Shall I
Go for it.
shout them out? We got Multi Tom Tom, and he says Toongate. And we got Sasha Unitex Femu, and he says whisper me how we measured radius quietly.
That's why I said, I told him before, if Witsit would have asked him 1 + 3, you would have hired the guy in the background, the skank whisperer. 4's the answer. 4. Unbelievable. What a joke. All right, let's wrap this one up. Any final comments with these broad knuckle draggers? Good.
Thanks for the super chatters.
Oh, yeah, thank you for the super chat. Yes, I thought I already did that. Anything else?
Only just to say, you took the piss with the sum 1 + 3 as, oh, that's retarded. You didn't need help with that. I would remind you that the original sum was 1 × 1.25, which you did need.
It wasn't that far off. I don't know. You guys tell me. I mean, this is cut and dry. This is more cut and dry than soundly whispering. So the skank whisperer. This is the question. Where's the skank whisperer? Hey? Clowns. All right, let's roll on. We're going to roll on with the Black Swan. We might stop back here before we close out, just in case some people weren't here. We might go through that one more time, maybe twice. Let's roll on with the Black Swan. It's back in black. That's right. It never left, though. And shockingly, it shouldn't be shocking. It's about 1.5 years old now. BallTARDS still don't know what this argument is. They have no clue. Shocking. I don't think it's hard to come up with language, right, to adequately encapsulate the situation that we got here. You're finished. The Black Swan kills you. You're dead. Let's go over it again, just in case you come by and start listening. Right? This entire argument is based off the horizon. It's a very simple argument. What is it? What is the horizon? Most BallTARDs don't even know this. From your alma mater wiki, is the apparent line that separates Earth from the sky. Merriam-Webster, the line where the Earth seems to meet the sky. The apparent junction of Earth and sky sailing toward the horizon. And finally, Oxford Dictionaries. Horizon, the line at which the Earth's surface and the sky appear to meet. You see these big words? See, I highlighted. I made them big for you with a pink crayon. Right? I put them on there with pink crayon before you could munch them. So this is the key word here. Appear. Apparent. Apparent. What's this mean? BallTARDs, don't you know what this means? In this context, it means not actually. Not actually. Apparent. Appears to. Not actually. Why? Well, does the sky actually meet the Earth or the sea? No. That's why it's apparent. Not actually. You get it? Next block of instruction. How to spot a sailboat. Let's get a little bit deeper here. We're going to go after the geometric horizon. Let's see what this thing actually is. You guys don't know what this is. You think it's invisible. That's the new game, right? I heard a little cranklings of it in the beginning, but now you're hardcore on this, that no one sees the geometric horizon. So you're saying that horizons are invisible? That kind of non sequitur, don't you think? Is that like invisible rainbows? Just doesn't make any sense, does it? From the US DoD, horizon. In general, the apparent and visible, see, they used apparent here too, and visible junction of the earth and sky, as seen from any specific position. Also called the apparent, well, they're telling you again, visible, telling you again, or local horizon. Local horizon. What's that? From National Geographic, the subject matter experts in this genre, we're not talking about genetics. National Geographic. Geographic. You get it? Probably not. The local horizon, oh, they identified it. Local horizon, see the connection? Also called the geometrical horizon, is the visible boundary between the earth and sky. Why are you saying it's not visible? Why is that? Other than being a feeble belly laugher of epic proportions, do you think people don't catch on to this? Do you know that the silent masses out there listening to your dumbasses are laughing, shaking their heads at you? You, BallTARDS, are our best flat earth proofs. The numpty clips are the best flat earth proofs. You bozos. Now, why is the geometric horizon? Of course, this is their other game. They separate the geometric horizon from the apparent horizon. Apparent horizon being painfully redundant. Don't you know that the geometric horizon is apparent? Because it's a horizon, right? Why is the geometric horizon apparent, you might ask? That means not actually. Well, number one is a well duh that I said before, because the sky or the sea never actually meet, right? Unbelievable. And number two, it differs, it's varied based on the observer's height, making it apparent. It changes, it will change based on your height. That's why it's apparent. See, the geometric horizon is apparent. They're not two different horizons. The apparent horizon and the geometric horizon. Apparent horizon, again, being painfully redundant. My word. Now, what can obstruct or obfuscate or obscure the geometric horizon, you might ask? Well, weather, atmospheric conditions, waves, and tides. Tides probably being the biggest. The geometric horizon can never be more than, I'm going to stress this throughout the presentation, can never be more than 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Now, it can be closer than 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet due to what? Well, the conditions that we just discussed previously. Does that make sense to everyone? It can be closer, but no more than? Why can it not be more than 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet? Why can't it? It's a stumper. Again, on the BallTARD ball, the geometric horizon can be no more than what? What its geometric constraints allow. Makes sense? Geometry? See it? It's based on the observer's height and this little buzzard, the radius. Now, how do we get this? The 1.225, 1.22, 1.23, right? Where do we get that? Well, just go to any curve calculator of your choice. They use this exact same formula. It says distance to the horizon. And when you put different observation heights in there, it'll change. So from Andrew Thomas Young, San Diego State University, Astronomy Department, subject matter expert. If h is in meters, that makes the distance to the geometric horizon 3.57 kilometers times the square root of the height of the eye in meters, or about 1.23 miles times the square root of the eye height in feet. Right? He's not the only one. This is just basic geometry. Right? University of Washington is caught on. So for all practical purposes, we can estimate the distance to the horizon using what? Well, the same darn thing that Andrew Thomas Young did. It's not, secret knowledge. It's not a mystery. Unbelievable. So you get it? The same thing. The death of the BallTARDS spinning space monkey religion. Again. Listen closely. If the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then every horizon distance measurement must be no more than, remember that? 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. That's the geometric horizon. Like I said, see the curve calculators. See that? That's your huckleberry, BallTARDS. This collapses the entire heliocentric BallTARD spinning space monkey religion all by itself. Right here, one photo. That's it. It's over. It's over. You can't recover. There's nothing you can do. You're going to try with your feeble bendy crane refractions, your paradoxical refractions, and invisible horizons, but they're belly laughers, and everyone knows it. That can fog a mirror and is past second grade. Clowns. So the observer's height here, and special shout out to BMLSB 69 Bo. If you look in the description box, I have the original videos from Bo. So always look at the description box. So we got observer's height in feet is 1 foot. Bo told me that it was below 1 foot. We're splitting hairs. Really doesn't matter. You can tell that it's quite low from the original photo. The distance to the horizon, as you can see, some BallTARDs are blind. They got blind Mellon-Chitlin syndrome. We ask them where the horizon is. They don't seem to find it. They look at the bendy cranes. Yeah, I put this photo in here for that reason, by the way. Clowns. You fell for it. You keep falling for it. But keep doing it. It's fun. So where's the horizon? Like I said, if you're not blind, you can see it behind the second platform. So it's got to be greater than 9.41 miles. By the way, this is a measurement. Did you know that, BallTARDS? This is measurement. You know why? Because the oil platforms here, they're demarcated by distance measurements. Unbelievable. The distance to the horizon maximum for a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, your BallTARD, is 1.22 miles. Where is it? It's 10 times further than it should be. Even if Bo was 5 foot observer height, maximum distance to the geometric horizon is 2.73 miles. You got some problems. Even if the observer was 30 foot high, if he was on a freaking ladder and took this photo or took this video, the geometric horizon would only be 7.24 miles. It would be in between the two platforms. You're done. You're dead. It's over. It's over. Now, it's just the death throes. Let's get to the actual argument, which I keep asking people, what's the actual argument? They don't know. Some flat earthers don't even know it. But most of the BallTARDs, they don't know it. Bendy crane refraction is the first thing they go to. Friggin' clowns. Modus tollens, holy shnikes, this is going to leave a mark. If P, then Q, not Q, therefore not P. Very simple. If the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, P, then every horizon distance measurement must be no more than 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, Q. Not Q, because the horizon distance is greater than 9.41 miles like I just showed you. Therefore, not P. The Earth is not a sphere. So, the BallTARD spinning space monkey community, please allow me to introduce to you, for the 5,678th time, your Black Plague, the Black Swan. Isn't she a beaut? I got you. You can deny it all you want, but I got you about a short and curlies. I'm just going to whip you around. There it is. There in your bendy crane refraction. Huh? Paradoxical refraction. That's all you got left. There's two things that you got left. The horizon's invisible and bendy crane refraction, which is a paradox. We're going to get into that here in a few minutes. That's all you got. That's all you got left. Of course, when you refraction, you really don't know what you're talking about. The argument doesn't make sense on its face. What? Bendy crane refraction? Therefore, the horizon's pushed 10 times further than it should be. Yeah, makes perfect sense, right? Preschoolers be laughing their asses off it. Unbelievable. If that one didn't work for you, then we'll just roll with this one. Observer height 8 foot. Max distance to the geometric horizon sphere is 3.46 miles. How far do you think that horizon's back there behind platform habitat? How far do you think it's back there? We can never know quite for sure. But it's 20 plus easy. You can't do anything. You're finished. You're done for. Questions, comments up to this point?
My only point, and it's probably being a bit philosophical, is with regards to the horizon. You being an arse, John, but you said, there isn't a point where the sky meets the sea. I suppose that depends on the definition of the sky, because the image we're seeing there is a dissolution point where the resolution disintegrates and we can no longer differentiate the two. But all the way from that point to here, the point where the sky meets the sea is the same point, the point of optical dissolution. We can see it all the way from that point, from the horizon to our feet, yeah? Because it's the point at the top of the water, yeah? That's the point where the horizon is actually seen. It's where we're seeing that dissolve, where we can no longer determine that differential between continuance of the plane and the sky. So I do think on a flat plane, we can distinguish it because it's not what they're proposing. Like I say, for me, it's that point of optical degeneration where we can no longer discern those two different things, the sea and the air above it, where they stop doing and where the perspective continues. It kind of draws a line across it, doesn't it? Yeah? Whereas for them, it is very much a geometric thing in their claim. It has to be. And that's the point I'd make on the horizon between our two. It is that for us, it's not anything other than the point where we lose the ability to differentiate. But for them, it is a physical point that is very much defined by their mathematics and stipulated in the Black Swan. Ramble that.
Thanks, Adam.
Time for super chat?
Yes, please.
Okay. So we got 3 from Sasha, Unitux fame. He says, is it there only oil or not? Or what is the argument? So that's one of them. And the second, curve calculator, calculating and proving flat. And the third is, we only said goodbye to words, back to flat.
Hey, appreciate it, Sasha. Shout out, sir. Thank you. Yeah, that's it. No other comments up to this point. We want to roll forward. Betty, you got any comments on this?
What is left to say,
got
John?
one.
I mean, come on, right? If you can
I
go
got one if I'm.
further than ever before, right? Why would you lie against what your eyes see? You know.
I don't know. Somebody in the background had something to say. Go ahead.
Yep. So the horizon is around 11 miles away. That would put our radius around 2,940 miles. So our horizon would be here to the moon.
If it's 10, and that's what I usually say, because obviously we can't validate it, right? But we can safely say that the horizon is 10 miles away. According to Pythagorean formula, if you go through the mathematics, then the radius would be 264,000 miles.
Okay, right. So I got a little bit off. That was close. I put 11.
Yeah, you went to 11, which would make it. Yeah, you might be right if you went through the math. Yeah.
Are we getting our radiuses out here? Hey, is that what we're doing? Hey, I'm sorry, Black Swan, but the Blackpool Swan has got a 2.75 million of value.
Yeah, I did that, and it is correct. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek. I don't want to go to the Blackpool Swan. I like to run home to mama, because not saying the Blackpool Swan isn't, authentic. It could be squirrely. It could be argued, right? There is no argument with the original Black Swan. There just isn't any. So even though that's correct, like I said, I'm running home to mama.
I don't blame you. The Black Swan's got validity, hasn't it? In that, as you said, it's got measurement to it. Those platforms provide measurement to us. So within that, even if you just take 9.41 and you can see, and you just take that number and you can see the horizon higher than the base of that platform, it gives that a surety that because the Blackpool Swan is so flaky in its ability to actually pick things out at that much greater distance, I suppose, yeah, maybe it's not as solid a thing as to bet the presupposed size of the ball Earth on. Nah, none of them are not. They're all nonsense, and all these swans, whatever size they are, yeah, as long as they're bigger than the defined parameters, they smash the ball. That's the beautiful thing. They don't. I suppose the sum to that is it doesn't matter the size of your R, as long as it can it's bigger than the defined parameters. It's sufficient to disprove it.
Correct. Yeah. So I don't need all that. That's just like beating a dead horse. But it gives me a chance to sing the song that I won't sing. Yeah. All right. Anything else, Betty? Any more admin?
The Swan song?
The Blackpool Swan? Yeah, I'm not going to do it.
Oh, I thought you'd gone back to black, so surely it's. That's about as much as I remember Archie playing.
You know what was funny?
John,
yesterday, I was working out to have the radio on, and it came on. I was snickering to myself. I said, yeah.
Isn't every picture on the beach Black Swan?
Most likely, unless it's a really, really foggy day.
Yeah, but with white, you cannot measure white swan. You don't have one measurement with curvature.
Well, you could, if you could define how you would get the R value.
But
then you could say what a picture would look like to be a white swan.
Yeah.
You have to actually measure that R value first, which is the paradox, isn't it?
That means that you need to have exactly picture with the exact drop on the exact place.
But even then, all you've got is a picture that you're aligning to something that you've not validated.
Yeah, of course.
Validate it first, then you can align a picture to it. All they've got, and all they do is go, look, here's a white swan, because it matches our presumption of our unvalidated R value.
No, they're saying because ships it looks at horizon, it's hiding the boat, for example. But they're not saying on what distance.
Go to the beach on 50 days. 50 days, you'll get different images, won't you? One of those may be called a white swan. How have you validated the R value in that image to prove that it's a white swan? Is it just because it's got an R value matching to what they say R is, or has R been proven?
Not only because that day angular resolution will be lower.
No. How do you prove the R to get the angular resolution to get to that stage?
I'm not a bowler, I'm not proving R.
Well, you can't do it optically, can you?
No.
That's the first point.
I'm saying that prove it's showed with measurements, everything, radius, drop.
So
with video,
okay, Sasha, so if it wasn't necessarily 3959, it was maybe it was 4,000, yeah? Okay, so there's a slight variance. How do you define that 4,000? How do you define that slight variance? You can't do it optically. So any number is irrelevant until you can define it. So the white swan in of itself it's just a myth, isn't it? Because its own definition.
Yeah, let's not. I don't want to go down that road, Sasha.
Yeah, you're matching it to the shape of a unicorn, Sasha. Yeah, that's the simple thing. You're saying, look, this thing that we call a horse, because it now looks like this, is at this distance, it's now a unicorn. What are the parameters of a unicorn? Look in the picture. Yeah, that's how you validate what a unicorn looks like, where your horizon is, because it's in that picture. There's no proof other than it matches the presumption of the mathematics, but there is no measurement. What John shows in the Black Swan are measurements that demonstrate that R value has to be at least more than 9.41 miles. It's got to be. Or that distance to the horizon has to be, which you can then back calculate the R value from. But at least that's solid. We can make a positive statement that it's at least 9.41 to the horizon. We've got that even with the variety in optics.
But that's too much. That's not 2.5. That's 10 point something. That's too much for how to defend. That's I'm saying. That's too much to defend anything. It will be if it's
defend. Yeah, sorry, go on. Sorry.
If you see somehow even oil rigs or something, on that it's I don't know how to explain even.
We got some bad echoing. Hold on, Sasha.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, Adam,
sorry.
put your mic on mute. Sasha, go ahead and say
it. Yeah, I'm saying I don't know how even to say. People don't know argument because horizon is all the time argument. They're speaking about.
Yeah, now you're chopping, Sasha.
And that oil rig should
Sasha.
That oil rig should be
Sasha.
Also, sorry.
Yeah, you're chopping. We fixed the echo, but now you're chopping. So go ahead, wrap it up. Are you wrapped up? Go ahead and drop out and come back in again.
You got to unmute him again, John. Now.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'll go.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sasha.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah, even that oil rigs should to be covered. At least I don't know how much, but they're not covered. You can see base of them.
Adam, when Sasha's talking, you need to go on mute. Thank you, Sasha. Please.
I'm saying that also oil rigs should to be covered, at least 20 meters or something.
Yeah, the horizon should be 1.22 miles. It's 10 miles away, so it's a farce. Yep.
But they're saying that horizon is refracting. That means that oil rigs also should to refract.
Now we're going to get to that here in a second.
Okay.
Yep, that's the next. That's that's a great plug because that's right where we're going. All right, Mike Discipline, please. Potential debunks of the Black Swan. I have them listed out here. Of course, they first started with BMLSB 69 isn't 1 foot. That went down in flames like within 3 seconds. There's land islands behind the platforms I shown with the original Black Swan. I went through all the background information. It goes in between the two islands. So that one went down quick. We don't never see the geometric horizon. I put a line through that. I shouldn't have because that's still one of the arguments that they have. As preposterous that it is. And welcome to Flat Earth. Q is a straw man. It's not. It's preposterous. It's a straw man. Yeah, your argument's a straw man. If Q's a straw man, then your entire radius is a straw man. Which you don't get. So the last two, the bendy cranes on the oil platforms are distorted. So we already kind of went over this. That's a red herring fallacy to the actual argument. My argument isn't about the cranes or the oil platforms, right? That's a red herring fallacy leading to a non sequitur because we already went through this. Your argument is the cranes are bendy, therefore the horizon is lifted up and pushed back 10 miles or 10 times further than it should be. So that's non sequitur. Follow? Oh, probably not. Number 6, refraction, just like Sasha brought up just a second ago. So the geometric horizon, my argument, is refracted. Welcome to Flat Earth. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the geometric horizon, the horizon itself, cannot be refracted. That's a paradox. So whenever they say or you see the terms used, refracted horizon, oh, no. We'll get to that here in a few minutes. Don't you worry about that. Okay, we'll get in more in depth with that in a second. Now, for the number one photo that I've seen thrown at Flat Earthers for a year and a half to debunk the Black Swan is that. There it is. It's funny because I had this photo in my first Black Swan presentation and all subsequent presentations after that. Funny is that I got this photo right in the presentation. Are you people clueless? You BallTARDS, are you clueless or something? You think that surprises us? You have no idea with what you're looking at. No clue. So, does this observation debunk the number one globe killer? You think? You ever seen this before? These two photos, the original Black Swan and the second photo, was taken with the same camera and camera height. B was taken 4 days apart. Not only are A and B Black Swans, BallTARDS, pay close attention now. Your physical sphere edge horizon that blocks boats and buildings has moved. Does your spinning monkey ball inflate and deflate? Psst. Kablooey. You're toast. You don't even realize that when that horizon moves, it implodes your entire argument. But you don't realize that. You just throw this up. You don't say anything. It's usually just explain this. Sort of an innuendo fallacy, right? You don't know what you're looking at. Could care less what this platform in the back's doing. It could have a purple tutu on doing somersaults. Where's this horizon at, BallTARDS? At a 1 foot observer height? You think this is your incoherent get out jail free card? Oh, by the way, you see this? Clowns. See this horizon right here? Guess how far away that horizon is? How far away is this platform? You're done. It's over. This is another Black Swan. Absolutely unbelievable. But you know what? Later on today, and no later than tomorrow, guess what I'm going to see? I'm going to see this photo brought back up again. I even post this to them. The next day, they just post it again. I don't get it. Questions, comments up to this point? That was a little short interlude.
Yeah, I'm glad you posted that last picture. That was my comment. What a lovely black swan picture B is. Yeah, having stated that the conditions are the same. The worst, it goes to the original black swan. The first platform's 6.21 miles away. Well, virtually see everything. I think probably in better clarity, but let's call it 6 miles to be generous. Is that further than 1.25 miles? Somebody feed me. Yes. Yes, apparently that is further than. Thank God somebody helped me with that maths. More complicated than 1 times 1.25. But
shout out to the beard skank.
There you go. But that's the point. It's another black swan. Again, for me, John, it kind of demonstrates, if that's put to you, as what we predicted, the months continue ticking by, shows a lack of comprehension of the black swan and their geometry.
Yep. Anyone else? Going once, going twice. Betty, any admin?
Yeah, I was going to mention just a simple thing about the acuity of the eye. It's not like they hide this information from you. You just have to look at it. And an example would be, even in the radius, the apparent radius, if you look at the visual acuity of the eye, they claim that it's 0.017 degrees. If you divide that by 69 miles, you end up with 0.00025, approximate 25 and some additional numbers. If you divide that by 1, so 1 divided by that number, you end up with the apparent radius of the Earth. And that's just taking the visual acuity of the eye and applying the angles of our eye, which is in this case 1 degree every 69 miles, and you'll end up with the apparent sizes. This is just doing calculation from your optics, not measuring the Earth, not doing anything. And that's basically all this is. You can do the same thing with 1 divided by 7,918 for the diameter. You'll end up with the same process where you end up with a 0.000126 miles, times it by 69 miles, and you end up with 0.008 degrees, which our human eye has a 0.5 degree arc minute resolution, which is 0.08 degrees.
Conclusions.
So the conclusion is with some quick understanding of your diffraction limit and some arc minutes and degree calculation, you can devise the apparent size of Earth from your visual acuity. That's basically.
So what you're trying to say is they back engineered the little fairy tale from optics or eyesight.
Yeah, and I can give you the math. Basic. I have more math, but I can give you the basic math and how they did it.
You don't need to. Just the conclusion will be fine.
Well, our visual acuity is 0.017. That could be back calculated to 3,959. And then the 0.008 degrees can be back calculated to 7,918. So it's all based on optics, nothing to do with the geometrical ball.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes, sir. We made that conclusion.
Can I?
Hold on a second, Adam. I know you're jumping out of your
excited.
seat.
I'm sorry.
I understand. Just relax. Yep, we concluded that some years ago, although we didn't have all the calculations, that they hijacked perspective and called it Earth curve. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, and I can show you in the maths based on the Rayleigh criterion, 1.22 constant.
I'm sure you can. Thank you very much. Adam, go ahead. I know you're jumping out of the seat.
It's only because I love it when Flat Earth Days because I like to pick his brains. So, dude, question for you. So, if I was building a scale model of, say, the Blackpool Swan. And I did everything perfect. I was really good at milling X, Y, and Z and got a scale from, I don't know, 2 meters to 10 meters or 20 meters, whatever I built that scale up to. But I used the camera. And when I calculated the relative scale of that lens, I realized that it was nearly as big as Blackpool Tower in my scale model to use it. Would that be an honest way of trying to represent the realm we live in by building the scale model and using a camera that's equivalent to, say, I don't know, half the size of Blackpool Tower? Or would it have an
here's the two variables that are very sort of neglected or maybe overshadowed or whatever you want to call it. But as you zoom in, you have a foreshortening effect will actually makes things sort of loom up based on optics. The longer the distance of the object, the longer the zoom, the more refraction to get that zoom effect, or to let's say uncompress that diffraction point, so to speak. So you have atmosphere conditions or Atmos conditions that will lend to it as well. So those are two variables that you can't really calculate precisely in small scale. You'd have to do smaller scale over a longer distance to utilize the full effect of the optical camera, the effect it does when you zoom in, and then obviously running it through the atmosphere to also have that effect contribute. So you can definitely force perspective, and you can show, smaller objects looking bigger than objects in the background. So you can do all those effects, and unfortunately that's what is not being considered here as well, is forcing perspective based on the camera height and the focal length that it's being zoomed in on. So there's lots of there's those two anyway, but there's also lots of other effects naturally over longer distances that are hard to lay on a flat surface and then calculate it as Nathan says, mung trig. I noticed that it works at smaller calculations anyway, like measuring the degree through basic trig, but then again, over longer distances, you have more effects happening. So
let me simplify the question then. So if I built a scale model to make sure that the optical image was equivalent to reality, would the lens size need to be equivalent, or would making the lens size equivalent to half the size of Blackpool Tower have an effect on how the image would resolve, or would it have no
absolutely effect? Absolutely, for sure. Yeah, 100%. If you want to look at that image for real, shoot it with a 50 mil or 24 mil in between those focal lengths, and then try to deduce your image analysis. Like I said, anytime you zoom in, you're going to actually cause a foreshortening effect, and it's a little what you guys might know as looming. It will also happen with a foreshortening effect as you zoom in. So
one final thing then. How much do you think, if instead of taking the original image that we've got, instead of having the Nikon D750 that the guy had, you had a lens that was as big as that bloody car park, yeah? Would I be able to use that image? Do you understand? What would it do to everything we're looking at, all those different heights and distances, making the aperture size gigantic, making the lens size? What is it reasonable to take a scale model with a huge camera in reality and then make assumptions from that to reality?
No, because again, we're tiny little observers with 24.4 millimeter eyeballs. So if you want to get a true representation of small scale, you probably want to have a camera at least that small relative to your scale, right? So that's the issue too, is trying to mimic our eyeball at smaller scales as well. So
that I saw that I've been asked to calculate a couple of scales this week, and maybe I'll just summarize this point outside of the.
Well, why don't you do it this way? What I've asked them to do is, if you're going to scale it down, the apparent radius of the Earth is independent of the observer and what the observer feels or what the height of the observer is. In other words, if the Earth is truly curving, it's independent of the observer's height. right? It doesn't. It's irrelevant. The Earth doesn't care what height the observer is at if it curves at a certain distance. So what I've asked the Globers to do is to take a distance over, let's say, if you shrunk the Earth down to 1/100,000th of a size, so not 3,959 miles, but you're looking at about a 290-foot radius. If you did a calculation over 6 feet, you'd get about, according to their geometrical principles, you'd get about a 2.74 centimeter drop between position A and position B along that 6-foot radius line. That's according if you scale it down. So why don't you scale it down that way, because that's geometrically true to the shape of the Earth, because it would be independent of the observer, and then you'll quickly notice it won't match.
That mate. You reference Montrig, trademark no phonetically or one word.
Yeah.
2021. You reference that would be them being honest about at least their orthographic thing that they're going to do this maths on.
That's right.
Just the final point is, I was asked to do a calculation. I think it's for somebody, and I think they had 5 meters. Now, the point I had, they've got a camera. Okay, now, if they could get their, and this is the point I tried to exemplify to them, if they could get their lens down to 1 centimeter above their scale, which is a nigh impossible, that would even then only be equivalent to 180 meters observer height in a 4.5 meter settle distance, yeah, and that isn't close to the 6, 12, 18, whatever thing the ballers have claimed. So once again, all of these things that we're seeing are being a little bit funky. One last point, one of the funkiest things I've seen to try and negate that point and bring it down is to make everything sit on top of a load of cups, right? Now, as far as I can see, if you've got an open angle underneath your mountain that's floating now in midair, you're not reducing the angle to the deck. Therefore, you're not giving another comparison to reality. You're perverting things so much more just for you to try and prove your point because you can't fit things into scale. I've done rambling, Data. You're going, mate.
Well, that's the thing too, right? I mean, they're also, first of all, let's just be clear, they're also demonstrating this over a flat surface when they're saying that there is a bulge or such a sagitta or some arc between these two distances. So if they're going to be true to their demonstration, they'll show they should have no issues breaking it down over the, let's say, for instance, Ranty did a video there and he's got a distance maybe 10 feet. So if he breaks that down at 10 feet, there will be some sort of dip or drop. If you broke it down to 1/100,000 scale, you'd be able to calculate that drop, and then you'd show that in your imaging. But you're not showing that as well. What you're doing is you're trying to show it. You're trying to show the true form of trig without, adding in the perspective value, which things as they appear to decrease in size will reduce or in distance will reduce in angular size, right? So we all know that. But apply the independent Earth curvature to your observations, because the Earth, according, if the math is true, if the size of the Earth is true, the curvature doesn't care about the observer height. It will curve regardless of the observer height. So show that in your demonstrations, and you can do some quick calculations. Like if you did it over 6 feet, like I said, you just take 2 times it by 209 feet plus 1, divide it by the the distance, and you'll get whatever drop that is going to be over that, if you're going to scale it down to 1/100,000 scale, right? So
that's what I showed, dude, on the debates last week, and that we took the Google Earth profile pics, yeah, and which are obviously flat. So taking that orthographic projection, we can take Google Earth because it's representing a flat plane, i.e. the topography from the observer point onwards is flat. There is no curving away and change of orientation of gravity. What Google Earth represents is a flat plane. And what I did was bend that down based on the geometric drop of the furthest mountain in the distance, and how that distance would apply in terms of geometric drop. So I brought the peak of the mountain down to that negative subtraction. and then bent the whole thing along a curve that was like that. Now, I took criticism because I had differential scales, which is something I think Ranty's doing in his setup today. But you can't cut a Coke bottle small enough to set this thing up, even on a scaffold, Ranty. Shame. But that's the point. These things aren't portrayed honestly by the ballers, and what they're trying to do is straw man us with this just anglicized business at distance. But what they're not doing is holding themselves accountable to the same mathematical rules, or the same rules, which is to first of all portray your topography orthographically, then apply anglicized distance. And what they do every single time is make their ball Earth flat.
Yeah, that's exactly what it comes down to. They never demonstrate the drop between the 2 points. They never show the sagitta or the arc. And if they did, then you would see quite a bit of a drastic change. And another interesting thing, I don't know if you guys know the panoramic effect on your camera, but if you do another scaled down version and you're comparing it to reality, and it's a really wide angle shot, just do your scaled down model and do a panoramic of it, and you'll realize that they can't do that demonstration even when it comes down to small scale, because if the Earth was curving at that rate, it would be noticeable the higher you get, and it would be impossible to get a panoramic that would highlight the same thing as a small scale. So in other words, what I'm saying is the larger scale, scale down, you take a panoramic of the large scale, scale it down, take a panoramic, they will match basically in their relative changes and such. There's still other conditions you can't duplicate, like refraction and so forth, but if they did it and scaled it down, it wouldn't match.
Refraction? Whoa, wait a second. Refraction? What's that?
Well, I'm just saying longer distance, right? Their excuse is, well, like for instance, I think Emerald was, I was debating Emerald the other day, and I asked him, I said, do you claim that a 6-foot observer will disappear into the horizon X amount of miles, 3-4 miles or whatever? And he goes, well, I don't really adhere to that. I said, well, what do you do? He says, well, we have to go higher. I said, well, what happens when you go higher? So when we get higher, we see farther, but we'll be able to see the dip. We'll be able to measure the dip, right? And I said, okay, so you can't measure it on the ground for a 6-foot observer, but you have to go higher to measure it. And I think the attitude is when you go higher for clarity, but the problem is the idea to go higher is to have 2 points closer that are uninterrupted between, unaffected, I should say, by atmosphere. And as you go higher, if you're trying to look farther, you're still going through more atmosphere. So
no.
That's that bait and switch they do, right? So
yeah,
if you're going
that's
higher,
the bullshit, because we're not on a flat plane. That's fine, yeah, because it's optics. But even at low level, Black Swan, they have a geometric thing, so it doesn't matter. At the lowest level, it's obstructed, irrespective. It's a minimum value, a bare minimum, not because of the optics, but a bare minimum because of their defined geometry. So that it's not excusable to say, so we can go higher, to maybe understand it better, and they could, but they've still got that obstruction. But to try and excuse those lower heights and what's seen is not plausible in their model, because it's not optics at this point, it's geometrics. It's their problem.
Yeah, exactly. And they're trying to, they can't get out of it because you can't accept both as the answer. It's one is going to be the answer. The other one is, well, how do you perceive that answer? Right? Everything is visual acuity. Everything is based on that angle of light to our eye. And you increase the angle, you increase the distance, you increase the vision. So you limit that angle, you limit the vision. It's pretty cut and dry. And what's really important, I think they still haven't registered, is a lot of these calculations are based on the acuity of the eye. When you go in and use a camera, you can see much. You can open up that diffraction point, let's say the apparent convergence. You can open that up more and see more of the image. So I find a lot of these calculations too were derived. It seems like they were derived from a telescope. It's like a standard class telescope, and they looked at these anomalies, and basically, because if I take, for instance, if I take the 7,918, I know this is going to sound weird. I've only done it for a couple, but if I use that as a feet value and I put it into the Sagitta calculation for feet, I'll get like a hidden calculation that's really close to the globe, but I'm transferring that apparent diameter size not into miles but into feet. So there's a lot of this. It clearly shows that they've hijacked our vision and turned it into a geometrical calculation. But like I said, that camera of the hijacking of the bottom of the boats, not understanding what's causing that I think has added to what they deem as some sort of validity to their calculations, right? But in reality, that's a foreshortening effect plus a limited angle to the observer's height. Plus, you can have a 2-foot object 3 miles away block the bottom of huge buildings easily. So there's also that, that sort of blatant disregard of optics too in their process of thinking. So,
all right, guys, that was a great discussion. Thanks a lot. Final point.
They stole our vision and told us that we can see billions and zillions of light years away. Everything is far. We're hurtling through a black void because we look at the shift in light. We're apparently traveling around the sun, but all we see is a sun that moves in our vicinity because I guess it's relative to our existence. So it's just a lot of things coming to a head for the future for people coming in and listening. Learn about your Rayleigh criterion, learn some good Euclidean, and know the difference between spherical geometry and Euclidean geometry, and it'll be a good start for you.
Thanks. Adam, you want to round out?
Oh, thanks, Dale. So yes. Oh, yes, whatever. No, yes. I enjoyed that because we were in agreement all the way. I'd agree with the final point. Now, I do think the original construct was taken from our eye, and that was the point in questioning. If that is the case, then surely, if we're ever going to try and model anything to scale, then the optics also have to be to scale for them to have any validity. The bit in discussion with data that I love the synergy, even though I've been called out on it because I'm a fraud apparently, is that if we're going to do a ball Earth versus flat Earth comparison, ballers, yeah, your ball Earth has to be curved. Yeah? It can't be flat for you to take all these angle measurements from. You've got to stick your mountains on your curve, not on a flat plane. Naughty cheats. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Like I said, great discussion. I didn't want to. I wanted to interrupt it, but then I didn't want it interrupted because it was a good conversation. I appreciate it. Let's get back to atmospheric refraction. We'll see how we get on with the time here, but I definitely want to go over this. Atmospheric refraction, like I said before, they don't know. I know it's a stereotype, but I've listened to ballers for 5 years. I have yet to find one that know what this means right here. They don't know. So let's go find out how it's defined. We'll take their alma mater wiki and then their subject matter expert that's in the 2 down here. That's Andrew Thomas Young. So atmospheric refraction, we already know we have a problem right here, right? Atmosphere, that's a paradox. That's why I call it paradoxical refraction. The paradox is atmo means air. Air is a gas. Sphere is a shape. Gases have no inherent shape, ladies and gentlemen. This is just basic 5th grade fundamental gas behavior knowledge. But I digress. Atmospheric refraction near the ground produces mirages. Such refraction can also raise or lower, or stretch or shorten the images of distant objects without involving mirages. Let's get the second definition. Like I said, Andrew Thomas Young is stuffed in here. He's number 2. While mirages are the best known atmospheric refraction phenomena, looming and similar refraction phenomena do not produce mirages. Mirages show an extra image or images of the mirage object. while looming, towering, stooping, and sinking do not. No inverted image is present in those phenomena either. Depending on atmospheric conditions, the objects can appear to be elevated or lowered, stretched or stooped. These phenomena can occur together, changing the appearance of different parts of the objects in different ways. Sometimes these phenomena can occur together with a true mirage. End of statement. So, we have 5 effects of atmospheric paradoxical refraction. So, is the horizon miraged in the black swan photo? Remember, mirages show an extra images or images of the mirage object. So, is the horizon right here mirage? Is there an extra image or images of the horizon? No? Well, that's one down, so it can't be mirage. Let's go to the second one. We'll do 2 and 3 together. So is the horizon towering or stooping? Well, what's that? Again, from Wiki, and you got Andrew Thomas Young, subject matter expert, in here, putting his 2 cents in. Towering and stooping change the apparent shape of the object itself. With towering, objects appear stretched. With stooping, objects seem to be shortened. Is the horizon stretched or shortened in the black swan photo? Is the horizon stretched or shortened in the black swan photo? No? Well, because it's non sequitur fallacy to even ask the darn question. Right? So that one's gone. Only 2 left. Sinking. From William Humphrey's Physics of the Air. Sinking is the opposite of looming. In sinking, stationary objects that are normally seen above the horizon appear to be lowered or may even disappear below the horizon. Looks like the objects are in comparison or are in relation to the horizon. Interesting. Is the horizon lowered or disappeared in the black swan photo? Horizon lowered or disappeared here? No? Can't be sinking then. 1 left. And it's the only one they got, right? That's all we hear. When they say refraction, they actually mean this. Looming. Let's take a look at what looming actually means. Back to their alma mater wiki. Looming is the most noticeable and most often observed of these refraction phenomena. It is abnormally large refraction of the object at elevation of the distant objects and sometimes allows an observer to see the objects that are located below what? Below the horizon under normal conditions. Let's get it straight from the horse's mouth here. From Andrew Thomas Young, San Diego State University, Astronomy Department, subject matter expert. Looming, the appearance above the horizon of a distant object that would normally be hidden below it. Above the horizon and the object. So we have 2 players here. We have the distant object in relation to the horizon. Is the horizon appearing above the horizon? Even in their jacked up definition, we'll get to that in a minute. Is the horizon appearing above the horizon in the black swan photo? Por favor. Then how in the world can you even state looming? You know why you do this? Because you don't know what looming is, right? I asked that question earlier in a hangout, and one of the subject matter experts in the area didn't know what it was. Funny how that goes. Didn't even know. Objects are higher, was more or less what he said. Is the horizon appearing above the horizon? No, it doesn't. It's non sequitur. The friggin' horizon doesn't ever loom. Ever, ever, ever. Even in their jacked up definition, which we'll get to in a few moments. Terrestrial refraction. Wonder what that is. Let's take a look at this right here. From Andrew Thomas Young again, where his definition for looming continues. Remember, the appearance above the horizon of a distant object that would normally be hidden below it. So in relation to the horizon. Oh, what's the cause of this? This effect is caused by unusually large terrestrial refraction. Really? That's quite interesting. Terrestrial refraction. This is a stone cold paradox and begging the question fallacy times 2. Does light refract? Answer, yeah. Is that the same that can be accounted for by terrestrial refraction? Or are we going to stick with the equivocation fallacy of refraction? Paradoxical type. Answer, nope. Keyword, terrestrial. You see, terrestrial refraction already assumes a sphere. I.e., the calculations assume the radius of the Earth curvature. He's going to tell you right here. Andrew Thomas Young, subject matter expert, San Diego State University, astronomy department. The atmosphere is also curved. Really, Andrew? That's quite interesting. As it follows the shape of the Earth. In the calculations below, we'll adopt. We just adopt it. A rough value of 6,400 kilometers is the radius of curvature to make the calculation simple. What? You see these professors, BallTARD professors? He's assuming the premise, the atmosphere is curved, which is a paradox by itself. Then by proxy, the Earth curvature to prove the conclusion true. What's that sound like? Doesn't it sound like a textbook begging the question fallacy? Times 2. Duh. It's a circular banjo do-si-do with an added on cherry on top paradox. How you like that? You don't know what refraction is. You never knew what it was. None of you know what looming is. We're going to figure it out right now. Let's do it together. So, let's go back to his definition. We're going to put his definition up against his Huckleberry's definition, a quantum eraser. Let's see which one turns out to be correct. So, looming, the appearance above the horizon of a distant object that would normally be hidden below it. From his Huckleberry, looming is nothing more than an optical illusion produced by the sky being inferior mirage underneath an object, giving the appearance of said objects floating above a false horizon. Wonder which one's right. Let's take a look. This is the quintessential example of looming. If they have any clue, they're going to show this one, right? Now, like I said from the beginning, you could do a little trick called off-center vision, right? You don't look directly at it. You can see where the horizon actually is, right? I could see it without even doing it now. But that's all right. If you can't see it using off-center vision, we have Mick West to come to our rescue because he's taken this exact photo because the secular press decided to call this a mirage. So Mick, our old buddy Mick, is going to help us out here, right? What does he say? This is not a mirage. Of course it's not, because that's not the definition of a mirage. Conspiracy Cats thinks it's a mirage, but I digress. So this is not a mirage. He contrasts this, right? So it brings out the real horizon. Real horizon here. And you can see it up there if you look with off-center vision. He gives the reason, false horizon, that false horizon right there due to fog. He's on some serious shrooms because if this was fog, then you wouldn't be able to see the boat. However, conceptually, he's correct. It is not a mirage. The real horizon's right here. Fake horizon's right here, which you got the sky above being inferior mirage underneath this boat. That sounds like quantum eraser's definition, doesn't it? Interesting. Our next examples, we don't even need the one over here to the right because you can see the horizon clearly over here, right? And the false horizon right here. What's happening? Well, the sky's being inferior mirage underneath this boat. It's an optical illusion. right? And they color contrasted over here just to put the knife into the fairy tale. And Betty's favorite, like I said when I first showed her this, she said the boats were being raptured. So this is one of my favorite photos of this anyway, because it really shows what's going on here. Right? So if you look right through here, you could see you don't even need to employ any off-center vision. I could see the horizon plainly, right? It's right off the bow right here. However, you can see the clouds collaged underneath these guys, right? You can see them. It's a reflection. It's an inferior mirage that's being underneath the boats, producing an optical illusion that they're floating, but they're not, because you can see the horizon. And for an added bonus, we have the false horizon right here. It's fragmented. See how fragmented this is? You know this isn't the real horizon, right? This is a slam dunk. They do not know what looming is. They don't even parrot Andrew Thomas Young's incorrect definition. I have yet to hear the incorrect definition of looming. Absolutely unbelievable. Even in their incorrect definition of looming, if you apply that incorrect definition to the Black Swan, it's non sequitur. It has nothing to do with the Black Swan whatsoever. These BallTARDS are on some serious shrooms, chasing them with Grandpa's cough medicine. Right? So that's where you take them. You take them right where they want to go when they bring these subjects up. Refraction. I can't wait when that happens. Feet go up, Stogie gets lit, and the Louisville Slugger nails start to penetrate quickly. So, taking all the examples that I showed you above, who has the correct definition of looming? Andrew Thomas Young or his Huckleberry quantum eraser? Which one's correct? Slam dunk, isn't it? Slam dunk. Thanks, Mick. Questions, comments?
This one for me, John, is a slow burn of this. I think back to stuff in terms of history and things like the definition for Fata Morgana. They are exactly what you portrayed there. And they were given definitions like fairy images or whatever. So they were given a mysticism to them historically. Well, I think thanks to your Huckleberry, you fancy pulling up the golfing image, is within this discipline, and there is science in all of this, within certain bits that's valid. Within this discipline, this is a great example of all of perversion, because what we see in this, and when you look up these definitions, everything is perverted to such an extent out of reality. These definitions, the optics are asked to perform miraculous things, and the reason these things are being asked is because they're being asked to conform to the ball geometry. The reality of what John shows there, let's just take looming. So think about what looming, the acrobatics that the photons have to perform in the atmosphere to resolve that image. Whereas in actual fact, what you've got there is just lack of resolution before and then a gaining of resolution, or simply. Yeah, that's apparent to anyone, actually, when you've got the understanding. But this discipline's a great example of how people are mugged off, because for years, people were told that no, it's curving light rays over a ball, over the horizon. And then were mugged off into this definition of the horizon looming over it, as John exemplifies. And the reality is, if you don't have to perform these acrobatics to fit it onto a ball, the explanations are very simple with well understood optics. Because I say that's been a slow burner for me, but the reality is that's a great example of how ball mechanics perverts understanding. I've done rambling. Cheers, mate.
No, it was good. You're fine. Any comments or questions from anyone else on the panel?
Yeah, I don't see how hard this is to comprehend.
It's not.
You can clearly see that the sky is reflecting off the water. It's so simple. It's easy.
I agree.
You know, and just as a side note, even in this observation, if we were to be at bird's eye view looking directly down, you would be able to see the apparent, so-called apparent convergence of the 6-foot observer based on the geometrical calculations of a ball. But from the bird's eye view, it would match the optical picture you've taken there, showing that there is no horizon, concluding that it is based on an optical effect, whether it's atmosphere, whether it's the ground rising up to a certain angular limit, foreshortening, whatnot. It is just that easy if you were to put a third observer or another observer, at the same time as that one to show. It's just a definite, clear indication there is no geometrical ball dip or drop.
But that's why data, isn't it? That they, you alluded to it earlier, they want you to go to certain observer heights to do this. And that's because that's the point where the blurring of those parameters and their indefinability start to merge. So the higher you go, the more it blends into those parameters you've described. So it's harder to ascribe what's what with it, and it just gives them that dodgy, a bit like what I've been looking at. Look, if we do this and we assume X, Y, and Z and all this, then we can have boats floating above the horizon. In doing that mathematically, it brings those parameters together, doesn't it? If you understand what I mean, so that which is the one that's affecting it is harder to know, and that's why they bring the observer height up.
Well, I think it alleviates the what they think alleviates more of the optical effects, but in reality, you're still just in scale. You're just a tiny observer over a massive extended plane, and you're trying to analyze this apparent ramping up and this apparent convergence, something to do with the shape of the Earth, when it's just the angle of light coming to your eye. And that angle is all relative to the position of the observer. And also that angle of light is relative to what medium it's passing through. And to get all these bendy refracted things, you need straight lines first, right? To have any kind of this convergence, you need straight lines. So the light's coming in straight to our eye. It's converging at a maximum point of resolution. You want to call it, diffraction. You have these refraction effects will basically manipulate objects above this diffraction point, appearing to move down, and then you can conflate those optics as Earth curve if you're not, even thinking of optics. You're just saying, hey, this is the shape of the Earth. Look at that. In reality, it's all to do with that angle of light to your eye.
Yep.
Coming off of a plane surface.
Yep. You could change this view right here. All you have to do is raise your elevation up the angle of incidence for the inferior mirage off the reflection off the water. It'd probably disappear.
It would disappear. It's all at that maximum critical incidence of 48.8 degrees, I believe, and you get this internal reflection, and that's alleviated by just adjusting your angle to it.
Yep. This would change immediately once your observation height either lowered or heightened. Yep. This would change. Got it. Yep.
So go right back to Al-Biruni. He's just measuring his optical acuity to his limitation to the angle, and not because it's Earth's a ball because it's an extended plane and you're a really, really tiny observer.
I mean, trying to sing. If when we're talking about these parameters, and we've talked about and fundamentally raising the observer height negates all of those very tricky 1.225 distances to the horizon. The point I was making is, as you go up, and the optics and the distance blend a lot better in terms of what you can see and what the ball defines. These lower heights that the ball has first made us have to show with Isle of Man are the ones that destroy their geometry. Although in the higher observer heights, like I said, you can blend, is it optics, is it geometry? Because the 2 points of convergence are actually getting closer and closer. At a lower height, they can't argue with a black swan that we've got 10 times their geometric limitation. Yeah. As you go up a mountain at 10 times, and the optics that you should see get closer, the variance reduces significantly. That's why they always want to go away from low observer heights, other than when they were desperately clinging on to trying to make us do something in the Isle of Man that we destroyed them every other height. So they forced make a demand was it is, but understand that's why they prefer the higher observer height.
Well, they can't have it both ways. They can't have their ball have geometrical boundaries and parameters and then throw an observer into it and go, well, what we have to adjust for the observer's height here because that's going to affect the physical curve of the Earth. No, the curve of the Earth, if it's there, doesn't give two shits about the observer. It's going to curve regardless, right? So that's why they won't. No. That's why they won't break down their radius values and put it into a model format, because if they did, and combining that orthographic view, let's say, which shows the arc, and then showing in perspective, you wouldn't have anything match. So they can't do that. They have to choose one or the other.
That's when they bring in hidden and observer height. So this is where another one of the mergings of those two parameters. So to reduce the geometric effect of the ball, isn't it? So now what you're describing correctly, if you kept your camera or your observer kept like any normal person looking straight ahead as you do in all the pictures, it's fine. The higher you go, the further you can tilt down before to allow it, which allows you to look over the ball more. And that's what I'm saying. The higher you go, and it's one of those parameters that they won't discuss that actually pretend it's exactly the same going higher, but what they've not defined is that actually as you went higher, we tilted the camera down more and more and more, opening up the angle, cheating. So we're looking over the ball, and as opposed to that fair, same orthographic view, which is what, coming back to the Blackpool Swan, but they try to mug us off with, as if it's a fair comparison. And if it was, the camera always stays at 90 degrees. They don't. That's why they want to go high, so they can then look down. That makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, of course. They're trying to remove the sagitta or the hump as much as possible, right? And the reality is there'll always be a hump, and the higher you go, see any sagitta, any hump, not whatsoever. So, and then you don't see no effect of that sagitta either. So.
But you see in Mick West calculations when they do that, that actually the higher they go, the more the camera tilts down to open up that angle more. It just shows you how they cheat. There's none of those disclaimers there. Everything.
Yeah, we don't actually look down though, like at all, right? So when as an observer, I don't personally look down. Anytime I go out, I'm still looking out 90 degree. On a relatively good day, I'm never looking down at the horizon. So
point being, Dave, if we're taking a 30-mile observation, and through that, I'm then allowed to go up and look down, the parameters or the differentials between ball and flat diminish significantly if I'm allowed to present my all data by going up and looking down. I diminish those differentials, like with the ranty pictures, where we're all objectifying as if they mean something in a photo. Yeah. But actually, mathematically, I do diminish those differentials. That's why they want to go high always, because they want to go high, but they're
Of
also
course, they want to hide the
They're going to look down.
That's right. They want to get rid of that hump, right? Because the hump is more prominent for a 6-foot observer than it is when you're. Apparently, it's more for a 6-foot observer. You live on a cylinder and you're calculating for a cylinder, and then when you go higher, you get rid of your hump, and and then you can once again apply the same, I suppose the same tactic, as that horizon is caused by a ball of the Earth instead of the apparent convergence of your eyesight. So I just think, they got themselves in a pretty good situation, because how come for so many years you claim to, be able to calculate dip or drop for a tiny little observer, and now you're realizing that you can't do that. You got to go higher for better calculations. Why is that? Right? It's because you will not escape the arc. The arc is every orthographic drawing has an arc. So if you're going to say that, then you're going to have to demonstrate that, and that's not demonstrated in any of their drawings, right? So even if it comes down to just looking at one axis here, they're only ever calculating on a one axis anyway for dip or drop. But yet, according to their ball model, a 6-foot observer going in any direction will appear to go down over the ball. And if that's the case, then why isn't there another calculation for a different axis for drop? If the Earth is shaped independently and has drop independently of what the observer sees from it, then there should be some recognizable pattern to that, and it's only ever on one axis. So that would say to me that it's completely based on vision over an extended plane.
Yep, I agree. Final thoughts. Go ahead.
That was the most intense agreement I've ever had. That was brilliant, Dave. Cheers, pal. That was good. Sounding things out in my own head, and it's good to have somebody not agreeing word for word, but we're saying the same things from our understanding. But so yeah, cheers, man. I enjoyed that.
We don't live in a cylinder, right? So why calculate for it?
Yeah. That's the fundamental brilliant bit that I got. That you, with your different approach, is making the same appraisal of the way the ballers do this. And that is the fundamental. I say Black Swan, all of this, all of their Mong trig, all one word, trademark Nathan Oakley 2021, yeah, it's stealing flat earth trigonometry for them to then apply their straw mans to, which is absolutely shocking. Shocking. Apply it and it destroys them.
Now this is final thoughts, Data. This is not the conversation continuing. Don.
Amazing show, man. I like what you presented today, as always, as usual, and touching up at the end was nice as well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it, Don. Mel B, how's it going, girl?
I'm good. Thank you. Yeah, that was great. I've never experienced looming, so I can't comment on that, but I understand what everyone's saying.
Sure. Yeah. Outstanding. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rams. Sorry about that, Rams. I had on mute. Go ahead.
It's okay. I only came in just a few minutes ago, really late. So unfortunately, I missed it. I'll have to go back and watch it.
No worries, man. We were just talking about Black Swan, Refraction, and the skank beard fraud, as it's now known.
Oh, brilliant.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Adam, you want to round out? Final thoughts on your part. I know we already did that once on yours, but I'm sure you have something left to say. And channel shout out.
Just on the skank beard part, mate. I mean, again, shout out Riley, great spot. As Betty says, it's a bit deja vu, isn't it? And the Matrix repeating. I've yet to see a flat earther need anybody in this help. And like I say, for your own conclusion, I think it's fairly obvious, but it really does show who needs the help and who doesn't, who's got truth on their side. And more important, again, it's a bit like with the flat earth debates. Who knows what the hell they're on about when they come into these debates and who doesn't? And seriously, if you need somebody to tell you what 1 times 1.225 is, really shouldn't be in the debate, mate. Just get the guy who's on the mic to substitute for you. Shocking.
It was shocking. Betty, final thoughts?
Final thoughts?
Yeah, any admin and final thoughts?
No admin. Final thoughts. How many times do we have to do this before it gets through? That a black swan is a black swan, people. It's not that difficult. You only have to find one, and then everything is broke for the white ones, right?
Yes.
Not alone. So there you go.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to wrap it on up. It's close. I am going to get right underneath the time. It's outstanding. The Black Swan is the death knell on many, many fronts for the spinning ball space monkey religion. They have no argument in return. They're feeble. Refraction. We don't see a horizon. Give us a break. Try preschoolers first before you bring that out to us. So, take no prisoners. No quarter will be asked. None shall be given. And remember, I'll be back.